She says, well, you should major in physics. I'm like, girl, everybody knows that physics is hard. And she said, don't let other people's definition of hard and their limitations for them impact you and define you.
Mm.
Something may be hard for them, but it may be easy for you. Don't let their limitations block you from believing in what you can do. And you haven't even tried it.
Mm.
And that was a really important lesson for me in defining my reality for myself and not letting other people's reality dictate what my possibilities are.
Kindness.
Why kindness?
Because it makes a difference.
For connection.
Kindness can change lives.
It's contagious.
The science says you'll be glad you did.
Kindness is the key to a healthier, happier world.
Why kindness? While no one answer is the same, one thing is clear. Kindness is something we all know, but do we know why it matters? I'm your host, Jaclyn Lindsey, co-founder CEO of kindness.org, and you're listening to Why Kindness. Hello, Kindmakers. Welcome to another episode of the Why Kindness podcast. Today's guest is Dr. Hadiyah-Nicole Green. Dr. Green is a pioneering physicist, humanitarian, and entrepreneur transforming the future of cancer treatment and healthcare access. She is one of the first African-American women to earn a PhD in physics, and she developed a groundbreaking cancer therapy that eliminates tumors in mice after a single 10-minute treatment with no observable side effects. Wow. An associate professor at Morehouse School of Medicine, Dr. Green also founded the Ora Lee Smith Cancer Research Foundation to bring this life-saving technology to humans and ensure it remains affordable for all. Her work has been featured by ABC, NBC, the History Channel, PBS, and more. I'm so honored to welcome Dr. Green to today's show. Thanks so much for joining us, Dr. Green.
Thank you so much, Jaclyn, for having me. It's truly humbling and an honor to be here. Sometimes the things that I'm doing, I feel like people don't see the significance of why I'm doing it, the way that I'm doing it. And there's so much pressure to convert to a for-profit and be about making money and putting profits over people and charting the path to put people before profits is sometimes felt lonely. So when you guys reached out and wanted to do this, I felt seen. And I really appreciate the support and encouragement, the opportunity to be here to share about what I'm doing.
It's our honor to have you, and I can't wait for our listeners to hear about your inspiring journey. Before we get into all of that, we love to open each episode and ask our guests why kindness. So what would you say to why kindness, Dr. Green?
That's such a profound question. And I operate in the space and the belief that the world would be a much better place if everyone operated in kindness. And there's so many people who operate on greed and selfishness, and someone has to be a winner and someone has to be a loser, instead of being more inclusive when there are enough resources and enough support to go around. And one of the things that I heard a long time ago, I don't even remember where to credit the source, but there's enough room in the universe for all the stars to shine. There's no one star saying to the other star, move over, you can't have any shine. There's enough room, right? And it's easier and it feels better to my spirit to practice kindness. And I remember in middle school, I was introduced to this concept of random acts of kindness, right? And in a culture where bullying can be the norm, doing a random act of kindness, that idea resonated with my spirit, right? And it made me feel like in this small way, in this moment, I can make the world a better place. I can brighten someone's day. And I remember when I was in college, my freshman year, Alabama A&M University is a small town nestled in Huntsville. Kind of was in the middle of nowhere with farmland around it. And I went there and it was where I blossomed. As I was going about my daily life, I would just continue to practice random acts of kindness.
Mhm.
My junior year, at a 4.0 grade point average as a physics major, I had interned at NASA and University of Rochester Institute of Optics, which this comes up later in the story is relevant to the academic journey. But my peers, classmates, and friends started saying, "We want you to be our Miss Alabama A&M University." And I'm like, I'm not a beauty queen. I was such a tomboy at the time, right? I let them talk me into this journey of running for Miss Alabama A&M University because there were so many people that said it mattered to them that I had been saying hello,
Mm.
asking them how they were doing since freshman year. They had all these stories of things that I didn't even remember. The time that I held the door open for them, the time that I gave them a ride when it was raining outside, the time that I saw they were down in the dumps and I took time to pray for them or give a
Mm.
word of encouragement or remind someone to smile. And there were thousands of people with these little stories. That part of my reputation led all of these people to campaign on my behalf.
Wow.
And when they started going around to tell people, hey, Hadiyah's running for Miss A&M, we need your support. Unprecedented election, 97% of the student vote. I remember we made the flyers on a computer and printed them out with a computer printer. And I was so orange and red. The tent was off. And the other candidates had beautiful flyers, and mine was so homemade.
Mm.
And the appeal to people was that it was flawed yet real.
Mhm.
For me, it wasn't about how I looked. I
Right.
felt like people saw my heart.
It was the inside.
It was the inside. And
Yes.
some of them now have said to me, like, we saw you do something impossible and win the student vote by a landslide when I became Miss Alabama A&M University. So for you to have another unrealistic goal, like if anybody on the planet can do it, it's you.
Wow. Yes, you've been defying odds everywhere. So wow, I love that. Thank you for sharing that. I think because you are beautiful. Our listeners may not all be able to see you if depending where they're listening,
Thank you.
but you are beautiful, but it is the beauty's on the inside. I think that's the power of kindness. It is a characteristic, it's a virtue, it's something we extend, we show, and that is a feeling people get from someone. And that you can't bottle that up, and that's not a makeup you can go buy. So thank you. That's a very beautiful story.
I remember my aunt, Ora Lee Smith, who you will hear more about her later. She used to tell me, beauty is as beauty does.
Mm.
And that's all she would say. She never explained it. Beauty is as beauty does. Get out the mirror. Beauty is as beauty does. And in her way, what she did was instill in me the importance of having virtues and integrity
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
treating people right. And she actually was an acts of service person. She
Mm.
wasn't a words of affirmation type of person, but she would cook for us. And I joke about cooking as a love language, food is a love language. But I remember one time she told me to go make my cousin's bed. And I'm
Mhm.
like, why do I have to make his bed? I didn't sleep in his bed. And she said, did he go to school for you when he took you to school? I said, no, he took you and that was kind of him. So thank him by doing something kind in return.
Mm. Mhm.
And so I was like, okay, well, when you put it like that, I'll gladly
Right.
go make his bed. And
Right.
when he came home that day and his bed was made, he was so emotional. Oh, that was so sweet. And that to this day is one of like we're so close. He's my
Mm.
aunt and uncle's youngest son, General Smith. He's like a brother instead of a cousin.
Wow. I
Yeah,
love that. And that's the ripple effect,
that's
that's
the
the full
ripple effect.
circle of it.
Yes, yes.
So you have an unbelievably impressive background and CV. For our listeners, I'd love to start with becoming a physicist.
Uh,
Tell us about that journey. What age were you when you knew that was even a job, a career, a degree that you could pursue? I'd love to just know a little bit about little Dr. Hadiyah, or I guess Hadiyah at the time, pre-doctor days.
I guess my academic journey starts, and it's very unconventional. So when I was in kindergarten, even before then, I had a brother who was 5 years older than me,
Mm,
named Nathan. He's now gone on to be with the Lord, but at the time, we were best friends. And all growing up, he was the person who taught me how to tie my shoe, how to
mm,
ride a bike, how to climb a tree, how to jump a fence, how to spell, how to write. Like how to put on my coat and zip up the zipper. And he spent so much time pouring into me and celebrating all the little wins.
mm.
So when I got to kindergarten, he was in the fourth grade and he started having me do his fourth grade homework and teaching me all of his spelling words and all of his math problems. And he inadvertently put me on this accelerated fast track gifted program that nobody else really knew about. It was like our secret, right?
Mm.
And so every day after class, after school, I would go to his class and his teacher her name at the time was Sylvia Wright. We called her Miss Wright.
Okay.
She would tell me to come in and give me candy and let me sit down and give me a worksheet. And she started creating these little special worksheets for me. And so I would sit and I would do the worksheets and eat her candy and do all of my brother's homework. So my brother ended up repeating the fourth grade, and I ended up becoming the first in my family to go to college.
Wow.
And so that laid the foundation. So I ended up getting a full academic scholarship to Alabama A&M University. I started off as a computer science major, and actually the
Mm,
summer before undergrad, I did a summer internship at Xavier University in New Orleans. And it was a program called SOAR 3. I don't know if they even still have this program, but it was like a pre-college prep program for computer science majors.
mhm.
And I loved the program and learned that I hated computer science. I do not want to sit on a computer all day. That was what I thought. That's what I do now. Still with it. So I started my freshman year, that fall semester, knowing that I didn't want to be the computer science major I had signed up for. I changed my major to electrical engineering. And
Okay.
the professor said, "Well, you shouldn't be an engineering major if you can't draw a straight line." And I'm like, "Well, Lord knows I can't draw a straight line, so this isn't for me." So then I changed to math because I've always been good at math, thanks to my brother and his fourth grade teacher, who later became my fourth grade teacher too, and
Oh.
is still in my life to this day, right?
Oh, hello, Miss Wright.
And she's now Wright Quigless. She got married and changed her name, but I still love her. So back to my freshman year, first month or so of school, I'm a math major, and this guy says to me, "Well, if you can't do four-digit multiplication in your head, then you shouldn't be a math major."
Hmm.
I'm like, "Well, this is for math geniuses. I'm not there." But I'm excellent at problem solving. So I'm going about trying to figure out what I want to do with my life as a freshman. This is serious. And I'm all in a tizzy trying to figure it out. And this lady's name, Aisha Fields, sees me coming out of the calculus class. This is my freshman year, first semester. And she pulls me to the side and says, "Well, who are you? I haven't seen you before. And you must be pretty smart taking calculus as a freshman." I'm like, "Well, I don't know about smart. That's a big title. I have really good study habits and I have the insane ability to focus for a really long time. So it makes me good at math,
Hmm.
problem solving." And so she starts challenging me, like, "What do you want to do with your life? What's your major?" And all these questions, right? So I'm like, "Well, I'm not really sure, but I want to help people. And I'm good at math." and exceptional at problem solving. So she says, well, you should major in physics. I'm like, girl, everybody knows that physics is hard. And she said, don't let other people's definition of hard and their limitations for them impact you and define you. Something may be hard for them, but it may be easy for you. Don't let their limitations block you from believing in what you can do, and you haven't even tried it. And that was a really important lesson for me in defining my reality for myself and not letting other people's reality dictate what my possibilities are. Because people tell you all the time, you can't do that and you can't do that. No, you can't do that. You don't know what I can do. Right? From that conversation, I took her challenge and followed in her footsteps. I majored in physics. I ended up graduating with a 4.0 GPA as a physics major. And being the first in my family to go to college and get a 4.0 GPA as a physics major was huge, right? In that process, I interned at NASA. I was calibrating lasers for the International Space Station.
Oh my goodness.
So that was my first summer internship. And then I wanted to follow in Aisha's footsteps. So I was planning a career in optical communications to make cable and internet faster.
Okay.
So I interned in the physics labs at Alabama A&M University working on fiber Bragg gratings and some other cool techie things. And then I spent 2 summers interning at University of Rochester Institute of Optics working on the bending photonic crystal fibers. And that's when they laid the fiber optics underground, that was the technology back in the early 2000s that was being developed that we all use now, right?
Okay.
And so I was at the forefront of that industry, and that was how I got into physics. And just to bring a couple of things full circle, so Aisha went on to become the 50th African American female to earn a PhD in physics, and because of her, I became the 76th African American female to earn a PhD in physics. And
Congratulations.
thank you. And I say it doesn't feel like my accomplishment because I'm the child the village raised. And I stand on many broad shoulders of people who came before me and took time to practice random acts of kindness that I was the beneficiary of
Yes.
those acts. And so when people ask me, for advice or mentorship, I bring them in because people did that to me, right? They did that for me, with me, encouraged, um, gave me a copy of their CV, even if they didn't give me all the details of how they did it. They dropped nuggets and breadcrumbs for me to follow their trail, right? Um, and in the journey, like life unfolded, and we'll talk about how pivoted from physics into cancer research. But that was how I got into physics. I never had a science kit as a kid. I never thought that I would be a scientist. I thought that I would be the next Maya Angelou. I so wanted a career in poetry. I wanted a career in spoken word
Yes.
poetry.
Wow.
And I kept saying, okay, well, maybe I can go on this. It was a TV show at the time called Deaf Poetry. That was like my biggest career aspiration. And then the TV show got canceled or went off the air. And it was like, okay, well, God, what else would you have
Yeah.
me to
Which,
do?
yeah, poetry, being a physicist, it's wow,
And
that's incredible.
the funny part is physics was really something just because I could, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
And I had the discipline, the
Mhm.
foundation, the attention to detail, the acuity to master physics.
Mhm. Yeah.
because I had such a strong foundation in math.
Mhm. Well, I would love to hear about the pivot and journey because I do think it's quite a leap, but I'm sure there's a story there. Like so many of us, we're on a journey and we're reacting in real time to what life throws at us. And sometimes it does mean having to completely adapt, change, overhaul whatever we're in, whatever we're doing. And that might be professionally, but it's everywhere, right? It's leading into our personal lives, into how we're showing up in our communities, what matters to us. So yes, as much as you're comfortable sharing, what prompted you to turn from being a physicist into cancer research?
Yes, thank you for that question.
This season of Why Kindness is made possible by the Wasserman Glasser family in loving memory of Sandra K. Wasserman. Sandra believed that kindness could change the world, and she had a remarkable way of making everyone feel seen, valued, and loved. Her signature phrase was simple, yet powerful: "Thank you for your kindness." Her belief in kindness as a force for change is the very heartbeat of this podcast. In her honor, we invite listeners to do the same. Think of someone who has shown you kindness and let them know. A simple thank you can ripple farther than we ever could imagine. From the Wasserman Glasser family, thank you for your kindness. We are honored to carry Sandra's light forward into this season.
As I mentioned, I'd interned at NASA and University of Rochester Institute of Optics, and I was planning this career in making cable and internet faster. So I graduated with a 4.0 GPA as a physics major from Alabama A&M University. My family all came down for graduation, and the day after graduating, my aunt, who raised me from age 4 and was the only mom I really knew, she announced that she had what she referred to as woman's cancer, with no details because she was born in 1932 and some things you just don't speak about. So all we got was woman's cancer, and she said that she would rather die than experience the side effects of chemotherapy and radiation. So this is the summer after I had served as queen for a year as Miss Alabama A&M University, graduated with a 4.0 GPA, as a physics major, had a $100,000 scholarship to go to graduate school. And I'm on summer break hearing this news. So I became her primary caregiver. And I saw the matriarch of our family, the prayer warrior held, who was our glue, the cooker of Christmas and Thanksgiving dinners, the mediator, the counselor, the sheriff of our family, um, go from being our matriarch to someone who couldn't walk, to someone who couldn't talk. And I watched, as her primary caregiver, I watched her dwindle down to only being able to moan and grunt. It was so heart-wrenching. And as I was growing up, she taught me to pray. And my prayers didn't save her. And so I started praying for insight and how to keep this from happening to other people. And almost as if in case I didn't see the importance of this, my uncle who raised me from age 4, her husband, General Lee Smith, he was diagnosed with cancer 3 months after my aunt passed. Actually left graduate school and went to be his primary caregiver. The doctor said even with chemo and radiation, he was only slated to live another 4 to 6 months. So I stopped life, went home to take care of him. And as he opted in for chemo and radiation, I saw him lose 150 pounds, all of his hair, all of his eyelashes, all of his eyebrows. His skin looked like it had been barbecued. He had uncontrollable diarrhea for months. It was a nightmare. like literally something out of a horror movie. And I said, I don't understand why this barbaric treatment is the standard. There has to be something better than this. Has to be something better than this.
Mhm.
So I prayed with him. I brainwashed him into believing that he could heal and live. With this book called The Miracle of Mind Dynamics that gave all these stories about people who were told that they would never walk again. And a year later, after brainwashing themselves to believe that they could walk again, they walked out of the door of the hospital or they ended up walking again. And researching what's the difference between the people who actually never walk again
Mhm.
and the people who have been diagnosed with something and told they'll never walk again, but yet they do. What's the difference? Their thought
Mhm.
process. And so I was like, okay. So I brainwashed him, and the doctor said he was not on the track to recover, even with chemo and radiation. He did recover and lived another 10 years or so and ended up dying from the side effects of chemo and radiation.
Wow.
Downhill side effects, downstream side effects, excuse me. But in the season where I was his caregiver, I was faced with the experience of the horrors of cancer with my aunt and the experience with my uncle of the horrors of cancer treatments.
Mhm.
That there has to be more alternatives, more options. So I prayed, and I do believe in prayer, and that's part of why my uncle lived another 10 years when they gave him 4 to 6 months. But I also prayed for God to show me, and I hope you and your listeners don't mind me talking about
No.
God.
Yeah,
Um,
that's okay.
that's part of my foundation for kindness,
Mhm.
too,
Yes,
right?
absolutely.
And I don't usually talk about that in interviews because people who come for the science don't usually understand the duality in that God was a scientist too. And and so, but I asked God to show me a cure for cancer. So of course I went and found all these people who had claimed to cure cancer and had been labeled as hoax and gimmicks and didn't get accepted by the American Medical Association, and
Mhm.
therefore those interventions never made it into the hospital. So I'm like, well,
Hmm.
what's the difference between the people who claim to cure cancer with a number of things, um, and the people who have their ideas administered in the hospital? And so I started realizing it was academic credentials and FDA approval.
Hmm.
Those were the two big things. So I said, okay, well, and they were treatments that had labels and could be bottled and sold. It was an enterprise. So I said, well,
Mhm.
okay, well, there's a protocol for getting in the hospitals with the treatment. Let me follow the protocol. So now I'm going to so I also prayed for something that could help add to the arsenal in this war against cancer. And I
Mhm.
got what I refer to as a divine download. I would wake up early in the morning, 4 or 5 a.m. typically, and I have all kind of ideas, creations and such, and inventions and such. And I sketch them in my notepad, and I go on in the day. And in that particular day, I got all the details for this laser activated this like metal heating process to target a laser at the site of the tumor only without destroying the healthy cells around it. And it,
Hmm.
it came in a downpour, and I wrote it down and I captured it. So I ended up applying to graduate school, where I knew they had a laser expert and a cancer center. And I
Hmm.
said, if I could just be in the space, I'm pretty sure I can find a lab where I can work out the details with this laser and demonstrate how it works at the cancer center in one of the
Mhm.
research labs. In the process of charting the path of working in this now interdisciplinary space, I found a mentor who allowed me to work in his lab at the Comprehensive Cancer Center at the University of Alabama in Birmingham. So I trained in a cancer lab with a head and neck surgeon, a head and neck cancer surgeon for 5 years.
Hmm.
And I also trained for a year in the Department of Pathology um, at University of Alabama at Birmingham. That's in addition to my traditional Albert Einstein PhD in physics,
Mhm.
pure physics, right?
Mhm.
And so while I was in graduate school, I had this full scholarship, and my mentor, my PhD advisor, said typically PhD students come into my lab and work on my ideas that are funded for my research. But because you have your own funding, I'll give you enough rope to hang yourself. It's a big risk, but it's a big reward. So you have my blessings. Go try to make it work.
Wow.
If you can make it work, I'll sign off on it. But if you don't, then you come back and work on my project.
Hmm.
And I said, okay.
Yeah.
So I took the risk. I spent 5 years at the cancer center. And once I got the treatment to work, it wasn't because it took so long to do. It was me not having the confidence when all of these older men were telling me that what I wanted to do would not work.
Mhm.
Try it this way, do it this way. We got to do it like this. You got to do it
Mm.
like this. And one night in the middle of the night, I was like, you know what? I'm so tired of them telling me what to do. God gave me an idea. I came here to do this idea. Their way isn't working. Let me just try it the way I want to do it, the way God showed me. And the first time I tried it, it worked. Like I zapped the tumors, and then I came back the next day and they were like halfway gone. And like in a week, they were flat. And I was trying to show my advisor at the cancer center. He was like, I don't believe you. Do it again and take pictures. So I did it again and started with the before and after pictures, and I'm showing the tumor shrink. And he was like, well, these, you got to put a ruler and keep the pictures the same size. And he nitpicked me and gave me such a hard time. And he even told me, like, who do you think you are that you can come in here as a graduate student and do something
Mhm.
that we haven't been able to do in 30 years and in history? And I'm like, well, I literally am little old me. I lost a biological mother. I never knew my father. My grandparents took my two brothers and I in when I was 18 months. They both passed in the same year when I was 4. My aunt and uncle, my mom's sister and her husband, took us in so that we wouldn't become wards of the state or get separated. They already had 8 children. Most of them were grown, but they still had already finished raising their family. And so they took me in at 4 years old, raised me as their own. I become the first to go to college, graduate with the 4.0. And the parents that I grew up with both were devastated by cancer. As a result, the whole family was devastated by cancer.
Mhm.
Cancer came to my doorstep and picked a fight with the wrong woman. And I told him, I can acknowledge all the hard work that you guys have done and how far you've come, and chemotherapy and radiation. It can save lives. But typically, when it's detected early, and early stage cancers have something like a 90-95% cure rate when you catch them early.
Mhm.
The problem is, like with my aunt, she didn't get diagnosed until she was stage 4.
Mhm. Mhm.
And with stage 4 cancers, almost nothing works.
Right.
Nothing approved by the FDA. Almost nothing approved by the FDA works to bring someone back from stage.
Mhm.
cancers. So recently, some of the immunotherapies have had some breakthrough success, but it's hit or miss. It either it works well or it kills you faster. And so I'm telling my advisor from the cancer program, I don't know why I've been able to do this. But my grandmother used to say, if you want something done right, do it yourself. And I don't mean any disrespect to all the brilliant cancer researchers who have biology and chemistry backgrounds, who have worked and put forth a valiant effort
Mm-hmm.
to cure cancer
Mm-hmm.
and have done an excellent job. I'm not discounting their hard work. But I didn't take the path of a traditional cancer researcher because that wasn't the path for me.
Mm-hmm.
Had I taken the traditional path of cancer researchers and majored in biology or majored in chemistry, perhaps my technology rooted in physics wouldn't have come to me, or if it did, I wouldn't have understood how to do it.
Right. Right.
And taking lasers and nanotechnology, because the whole time I'm calibrating lasers for NASA and working with lasers and fiber optics with the University of Rochester Institute of Optics, trained by the people who created Kodak cameras and cell phones, right? And so having this idea that if a satellite in outer space could tell whether a dime on the ground is face up or face down, and
Hmm.
track everybody on the planet and their pinpoint their location based on their cell phone, right? And if a cell phone can call around the planet, even in a stadium full of people, and target one cell phone, we should be able to treat cancer at the site of the tumor without all of these side effects. And so when I was challenged on why me, I can't explain this. But what I can say was that it feels like I was called for a time such as this, that this was my purpose in life. That if my
Mhm.
aunt and uncle had been a distant relative and it didn't shake my world up completely, perhaps I could have gone on to make cable and internet faster. But
Mhm.
that pivot for me, when you talk about rooted in kindness,
Mhm.
I couldn't save my loved ones from the suffering or dying from cancer. But for the planet, I said there are some core things that I can do.
Mhm. Mhm.
And if this cancer treatment can be affordable and accessible for all and help save lives, it's the most beautiful tribute to my loved ones.
Yeah.
And in hopes that other people don't have to suffer the way that my loved ones did. And starting a nonprofit named after my late aunt, the Ora Lee Smith Cancer Research Foundation, isn't about me. And people said, oh, well, when you went viral for winning that $1 million grant from the VA, you should have named your foundation after you. Your marketing would have been better.
Hmm.
And I'm like, but it doesn't acknowledge that I didn't get here because of Dr. Hadiyah-Nicole Green. I got here because of Ora Lee Smith.
Hmm.
And women like her never get their name on a building. They don't have a day of the year named after them in their honor. They never get their award for doing extraordinary behind the scenes acts of kindness.
Mhm.
She
Mhm.
didn't have to take in her sister's children,
Right.
but that act of kindness gave me a safe place to call home, to develop and grow into who I am now. So I wouldn't be here without her. Now, maybe if I had branded the foundation something catchier, but I thought if we can have a Susan G, we can have an Aura Lee.
Yes, we can.
Yes, we can.
Dr. Green, thank you. I intentionally don't go really deep into the stories of our guests prior to the interview because I wanna hear from you. I don't wanna feel like I've read and done homework. I want it to feel real
Organic.
and raw, and we're just going where the conversation leads. So of course, I knew that you had, founded the center, the foundation. I didn't know the background. I didn't know that where the name came from.
Mm,
Um, so I wanna thank you for sharing this story, and I wanna tell you um, on a personal note, um, we lost our mom 1 year ago, to women's cancer.
I'm so sorry.
It began as cervical,
Mm, mm.
was stage 4 metastatic by the time we discovered it.
Oh, yeah.
My mom, very similar to your aunt, to Aura,
Mhm.
had always told us she would always refuse treatment. You know, she just
Mm,
knew who she was, she knew how
oh,
she was wired, and she said, I don't wanna suffer with
mm,
treatment. I just wanna I would wanna go the way I'm meant to go, and we got a diagnosis, on Wednesday, November 20th last year,
almost a year. Exactly. Oh, wow.
and, she died Tuesday, November 26th. So
Oh,
and, um,
oh,
the journey of watching all of that,
that was
you
fast.
so fast, I know, but very similar, like, she had been losing weight, it was just something we had been watching, but it came very quickly. She had had a health checkup 6 months earlier where they said, "You look great, you're the healthiest 70-year-old we've seen." So, they obviously think something was there, and then it just went from 0 to 100, but yeah, I mean, we look back in hindsight at all of it, and I think the work you're doing can't what we know, similar to kindness, everyone knows kindness. Cancer doesn't, ignore anyone. No
Right.
one can protect against it. No one can use money to say, "Oh, I'll never get cancer because I'm rich." No,
Mm,
like, it is a global illness that we all in some way will face, whether personally or through our family, directly, indirectly, and I think this work is so critical because to only have really one path where it feels like it's this or nothing.
right.
And how do we have something reputable and trustworthy that can be an intervention taken seriously? There's, of course, those holistic approaches,
Mhm.
different ways that you can do it, but I just personally, on behalf of, yeah, my mom, of people everywhere that are in the same mindset where they wanna live their final days not hooked up and not,
Mhm,
um,
mhm.
poisoning themselves, this work is so important.
Mm,
What would you wanna say to people listening, how they can help, how we can follow your work and see what you're bringing into this new frontier of treatment? Thank you. I just thank you again, personally for this. I'm so grateful and honored to know you.
Before I respond, I didn't wanna interrupt you because I'm practicing being a better listener. Jaclyn, you just ripped my heart. My sincere condolences about the loss of your mom. I'm so sorry. I wish I didn't know that pain. It's been 23 years since my aunt passed. And people have often used the most heart-wrenching thing that's ever happened to me to get ratings for their show without supporting me. And it's so difficult to talk about losing a loved one, like, so suddenly, 3 months, a few days. I feel your pain, and
Thank you.
I'm so sorry. My condolences, and it to encourage you, I will say, it's not going to be easy, um, but we find ways to honor our loved ones, right? And
Yes,
to make it so that their experience is not in vain.
exactly.
And that thought empowered me to do something about it, right? And to circle back to answer your question for everyone who's listening, my request is in honor of your mom or anyone's loved one or of themselves as a cancer survivor or just for the general good of the planet. I want to invite you all to adopt the Aura Lee Smith Cancer Research Foundation at oralee.org. That's ORALEE.org. To adopt us as your cancer charity of choice. And by that, there are a lot of ways that you can support. Yes, donations are welcome and needed because donations are exactly what helps us get into human clinical trials. And before we close out, I did not explain, and this is important to understand. We are a tech startup company that is a cancer charity. And our goal is to change how cancer is treated, the disease itself, what cancer charities do with the money, and how tech startups raise money. So tech startups typically raise money through venture capital, and that's why healthcare in America is unaffordable because of that, right? So I figured if we take technology that's working, I need to explain what the technology is before we go, and raise money for it through a cancer charity, which cancer charities in the US raise over $1 billion a year. I don't think people realize that the top 3 cancer charities are collectively raising over $1 billion a year to produce statistical analysis reports, give rise to cancer patients, and give hope. And there's more money going towards marketing than towards funding research. So we want to change and disrupt how cancer charities work. But then on the treatment side, here is the real part that separates us from every other cancer charity. The technology I developed uses the equivalent of a laser pointer, a very low power laser, and it heats up a speck of gold, tiny particles called nanoparticles. And the cool part about this is we can inject these tiny nanoparticles directly into the tumor at the tumor site. And we can shine the laser to heat up the nanoparticles, and they get so hot they kill the cells in the tumor and cause the tumor to shrink and go away in 10 minutes. The laser is only on for 10 minutes. And in the course of 10 to 15 days, every time we do it in a mouse, we see the tumor shrink within 10 to 15 days every time. And I've repeated this dozens of times, and I've published this in peer-reviewed journals, and the patents are pending. And I started the 501c3 nonprofit, the Aura Lee Smith Cancer Research Foundation, because I know this is transformative. Every cancer surgeon I've shared this with, they're waiting for me to get the FDA approval so they can share this with their patients. I have taken a 20-year path, 23-year path to position this to be offered in hospitals and covered by insurance companies so that it won't be a quote alternative treatment that's labeled as a hoax. And in order to do this final step of becoming officially legitimate and available to the public, we have to raise the funds that typically the pharmaceutical industry pays the cost of clinical trials. And they cost upwards of $100 million. And people tell me all the time, oh, that's unrealistic. You need to just turn it into a for-profit and take investors. And I don't want to put profits over people. If this were a business deal, I could have taken the deal by now. But this is heart work. This is a mission and a ministry that is bigger than me, and it's important in the spirit of kindness that this treatment is available to people, to the least of these, especially in countries where they don't have access to $400,000, $500,000 cancer treatments,
Right.
where this is something that could be so accessible. We can put it on um, a mobile unit and put it in the backwoods, in the Delta, in the rural parts of the United States, or take it into the sub-Sahara, in Africa or in China, where people don't have access to
Mm-hmm.
proper standard care, and it can be affordable and accessible if I raise the money through the nonprofit and disrupt the cancer charity over $1 billion a year industry and raise the $100 million that we need. And people say, well, that's too big and you should do this. And I know that there are philanthropists who give money. I haven't gotten to them yet, but I know Jeff Bezos' wife just gave $80 million to a university in the last week. And there are people like her. People may hear this and say, I can be the philanthropic supporter for this cause and
Yes.
champion this, right?
Yes.
And meanwhile, everyone else I want to ask to sign up to do a monthly donation of at least $10 a month. There's no amount that's too large or too small. We have raised close to $4 million with the average gift of $100.
Wow. It's amazing.
It's grassroots movement. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm learning to communicate the importance of individual donors.
Mm-hmm.
All I need is 100,000 people to give $10 a month.
Okay.
And then we can get there. We can get there. And once we show that this works in the first human, it'll be easier to get national mainstream media consistently to raise the rest of the funds that we need to finish human trials and get the FDA final approval. The exciting part, the FDA has recently granted breakthrough device designation status. That is very rare and very exciting. It's a fast track program. That means the FDA is excited about the technology.
Wow. Congratulations.
Thank you. And now we need the support of everyone who cares for thy neighbor, right?
Yes.
And sometimes we have to look at it that the life we save might be our own.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
every dollar, every monthly donation, I ask for monthly donations to set up an amount that people can set and forget about. Because most people won't miss $10 a month or $20 a month. Some people won't miss $100 a month. And it goes much further than someone giving a one-time gift.
Right.
And
Yes.
so having that sustainable support. But in addition to donating, we have options where you can donating cash. Let me say we have options where you can donate crypto, donate stocks, donate cars. We welcome the donation of buildings. You can name it
Mm-hmm.
your life insurance policies and in your estate plans. You can make a legacy gift of a certain amount over years where some people say, well, I want to give $100,000, but I want to give it over 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
We welcome all of that. We also have volunteer roles. And this is where I really need help.
Mm-hmm.
People think that and this is true, most cancer charities have paid employees. We've
Mm-hmm.
been putting all of the donations towards our human trials. And I've been donating out of my personal day job salary and honorariums when I do speaking engagements to cover the operational expenses. And I haven't even taken a salary from the foundation. And we
Wow.
have a team of about 70 professionals who are these high, well paid executives in their day jobs who lost a mom to cancer, lost a dad to cancer, a sibling to cancer, a child to cancer, a spouse to cancer, a best friend to cancer. And they said, how can I help? I will
Mm-hmm.
volunteer 3 to 5 hours a week. You got me, whatever you need. And they
Mm-hmm.
help organize fundraisers. They help manage social media. They help create commercials and videos, write scripts. They are managing the website, the donor engagement process, drafting emails, checking emails. I mean, the whole spectrum. We even have an accountant helping us with our QuickBooks. We need help across the board. If you can read and write, copy or paste, run a Zoom call, uh, anything, we want people to sign up at auralead.org/volunteer. And there are lots of ways you can host a fundraiser, help spread the word. We need all the help that we can get to stay independent and to ensure that all the donations go towards the cause, not big overhead salaries and marketing campaigns. And I'm excited about this goal of getting 1,000 new volunteers.
Okay.
We can get 1,000 new volunteers to help do some of the behind the scenes work and push this grassroots movement in different communities and really get the word out. We can do this. I've positioned the technology where we can start human trials in less than 12 months now. And I don't have the funding to pay for the things that the FDA says are required for us to start. So I'm ready to go, and I need support. And everyone who hears this, if you have the time, 3 to 5 hours a week, volunteer. If you have the resources, donate. And if nothing else, follow us on social media to help with the algorithm at ORALEEORG. That's at auraleeorg, and at Dr. Hadiyah Green. That's DRHADIYAH, green like the color. At auraleeorg and at Dr. Hadiyah Green. And engage with us. Subscribe on all platforms. Comment. Tell us that you heard us on
Yes.
podcast. Show us love.
You've gained a donor and a volunteer right here.
Yay!
I'm just
Thank you.
so thank you. Thank you. I think we're gonna put this episode out over Thanksgiving week. And even when we were thinking about it, I didn't fully appreciate that being the 1-year anniversary since our mom.
Oh, wow.
So, Dr. Green, I know this is quite a shift, but we also have put our KQ out into the world. And it's just a really wonderful way to engage people to think about how they're showing up with choice and action and choosing kindness for those around us. And I know you had a chance to take our brand new KQ for coworker.
Yeah.
So just would love to know, one, if you're comfortable sharing your score, but really more than that, what was the experience like for you? Feedback, what'd you think about it? Anything you'd want to say about your KQ?
Oh, I absolutely want to share my score. I'm pulling up my results now. I am so proud of my score. Let me try to find it. First of all, let me say I thought the KQ was incredible.
Thank you.
Can I share my screen?
Yes, absolutely. If you go down to the little share button at the bottom, it's a rectangle with the arrow.
Share screen. Okay. I'm so proud of my score.
Oh, I'm so excited. What?
Why?
Oh my goodness, this is hilarious.
Is 7,800%. Like, talk about off the charts. And I'm in the top.
Oh my goodness. Okay, Dr. Green, we're going to tell our listeners she is taking our beta version. It's in the middle of being built and tested. And this is such a great learning because it shouldn't go that high. So this so happy we're doing this in real time. Oh my goodness. Thank you for this. You are the kindest. There's no one kinder in the world than Dr.
I
Green.
have the maximum KQ score possible. More than 100%.
I am so happy we did this. Thank you. This was
Yes.
amazing. Oh my
We have
goodness.
to get this to the Nobel Prize.
I will get
I deserve a Nobel Prize
Oh my
for my
goodness.
kindness.
Love it. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. Wow. Wow.
When I
So,
saw this, I said, "Wow, 7,800%. I've never
wow.
scored that
Wow.
high on a test before."
Oh, what a good laugh. Okay. This was
Oh,
perfect timing. We got this.
well, I'll stop
Okay.
sharing now.
No, thank you. Okay. So as we wind down, um, the episode is actually in honor of a woman named Sandra K. Wasserman, who also passed away a couple of years ago now. And the family wanted to do something to honor her legacy of
Mm,
being an ambassador of kindness through her spirit, her actions,
mm,
her love for people, her essence. So we like to end by asking people, if you could thank someone for their kindness, who
mhm.
would it be? We can call them now, but maybe for time, you just let us know who you're thinking of. And then we just ask that you would reach out and text them, email them, call them to say thank you for your kindness. So would love to know who you want to end celebrating and honoring today.
So, if I may take a liberty, there are
Yes.
2 people, so to speak, that I'd like to
Let's do
thank.
two. Absolutely.
The first would be Aura Lee Smith and General Lee Smith for their kindness of taking me in and loving me and giving me a safe space and a foundation for life. I have dedicated my life to a cause bigger than myself that does not impact me as a way to say thank you to them and to honor their memory and their love and their kindness. So to my heavenly aunt and uncle, thank you. I love you. And I'm humbled and honored to do this work in their memory. The second thank you goes to my incredible team of volunteers,
Mm.
Team Orly. We always say teamwork makes the dream work. And these humanitarians show up, and most of them do way more than the requested 3 to 5 hours a week. And they are passionate and dedicated, committed, and they inspire me. The acts of kindness that they do on behalf of the cancer patients who need this treatment, it keeps me motivated and going on days when it gets frustrating and tough because it's taking so long. So
Mhm.
thank you to all of the Team Orly volunteers. I love you guys. I
Yes.
appreciate you guys. And together we can do this.
Thank you. Thank you. Why Kindness is made possible by the Wasserman Glasser family in loving memory of Kindmaker Sandra K. Wasserman. More information on our guest and topics from this episode are available in the show notes. We hope you enjoyed this conversation and would love to hear what you think. Please leave a review wherever you listen and join us on social media and at kindness.org to learn more about how you can be a kind maker. We will continue exploring this question, why kindness, throughout the season. So stay tuned, friend, and thank you for your kindness.